Saturday, the 9th of January 2021, and welcome to our TiLT Show and Tell Cabaret. There's a picture of people who've come in the past to our show and tells. I think this is the fourth one that we've had since the lockdown. My name's Helen Myers. I'm chair of the London branch of the Association for Language Learning. We always mention Heike Philp, who has facilitated a lot of what we do through giving us support in how to set up webinars. We thank Linguoscope, who always support everything we do and who provide another set of webinars, which we really recommend. They're every Tuesday. So have a look at those. We'll try not to do webinars from now on Tuesday, since they're using that slot, they're great to go there. And I'd like to introduce Joe Dale, who's the most important person here for coordinating everything, bringing us all together. And also he's got lots to offer as well in terms of training. Would you like to speak, Joe?
I would love to speak. Thank you ever so much. So welcome everyone to the new TiLT webinar for 2021. It's lovely to see everybody here. It does feel a little bit like a deja vu, but here we are again in lockdown, and Association for Language Learning is here to help you through these webinars. I also do my own independent webinars as well. I've got one coming up next week on the 13th with All In, which is free to attend. If you wanted to come along to that, you'd be more than welcome. I think over 350 people have registered so far, so that's coming up. And I've also got a list of example sessions which I can share in the chat in a moment as well. So if you are struggling at all with any ideas around remote teaching, then feel free to have a look at this webinar, this document right now, which I'm sharing, which should help. Obviously, I can't travel anywhere at the moment. This is how I make a living now, through webinars. Through TiLT, all of those are available for free, and you can access all the recordings of the over 50 that we've done so far on my YouTube channel, which is available at JoeDale100 if anyone is new to these webinars. But I also offer support for individual departments or districts or associations or multi-academy trusts as well. And I would love to hear from you. Obviously, I'm happy to help people on Twitter. And I've noticed just in this last week, I've been bombarded by questions every single day, which is lovely. But if each one is a short amount of time, but when you add them all up, it's a lot of my time. So I would love it if you would be interested in booking me to support your department in a twilight or whatever it might be, because we all have to make a living. So that's me. Over to you, Helen, and I'm delighted we're all here again in 2021. Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you, Joe. And I should have started by saying that, shouldn't I, as well? Happy New Year. I've just put in here, because I mentioned Heike Philp, that starting from Sunday, there's a course which is a 6-week course that some of you might be interested in. I'm definitely going along. I've already prepared my avatar, who's sitting there waiting, looking pensive. Immersive storytelling in virtual worlds. So it's over a 6-week period. You can come along, make yourself an avatar, and learn how you can create a little world in which you could invite your children. So I'll put the link to that later. Are you a member of ALL? If you are, please do say so in the chat. Encourage other people to join us. It's a great organization. You'll get a regular magazine, sometimes online, as it has been recently, or a real magazine. It's a community of people, and we are very interested in making sure that members, language teachers, are actively involved in any debates and any consultations. So although we don't take a view on things, that isn't our thing, we're a charity, we support people. So please do join if you're not a member already. As Joe said, you'll be having links to anything that's recorded afterwards. I always, for each webinar that we have, I maintain a page. So for example, after this one, there'll be a page on the website, the ALL London website, where you'll be able to get a link to Joe's recording, and also a link to any other, the chat, for example, that people have. Coming soon, Joe's already mentioned what he does. Do support him on those things. I think I really would like to stress, we are so grateful to Joe for everything he does, but he does have to make a living as well. So attending the ones which he mentions, that really is helping him as well. ALL, we've got something coming up this week. We've got quite a lot. We've got a Thursday 14th ALL Language Trends webinar. That's where people from the British Council come along and tell you about trends, and you can be involved in the debate. Next Saturday, we'd already planned to have online an ALL London January event. We were going to have Ofsted and AQA talking to us. We've decided along with them that really now is not the time for that, with everything changing. So we're turning it into a much more practical, hands-on sort of session about a bit like this, where we can talk about things which we can actually do to help. But it's going to be kicked off by Mark Reed from the British Film Institute. Stephen Fawkes is going to be speaking. We're going to, and then the important thing for you coming here is that we're going to have another show and tell. The TiLT bit will start at 3:30 to 5:30, but we'll probably start it and half an hour earlier with a special devoted bit for primary schools at 3 o'clock. So we'll keep in touch with you to tell you about more planning for that. Transmedia and education. Transmedia seems to be the in word at the moment about storytelling on different platforms. There's going to be a session on Monday, the 18th of January. Richard Talleyrand is going to come along on the 27th of January to talk about, particularly that's primary, but talking about how you can put languages in where you are. Every first Friday, we have a special get together, a social for trainees, NQTs and RQTs on a Friday evening. And we really have a good time. So you don't have to be a starting teacher. If you just fancy hanging out with some very nice people on a Friday evening, you're very welcome. So next week, we've got this coming up. Jane Basnett, something on carousel learning. Natasha's going to talk about Spiral, which loads of people are raving about. Rachel Grice and Sabine are going to talk about, and do you say Blockbusters? I haven't heard it actually.
I presume it's Bluecat. That's a really good point, isn't it? Because, you know, if you're here like in your own little cave, as it were, always reading the text but never knowing how to pronounce it, I always presume it's Bluecat, but maybe it's, I don't know. Feel free to prove me wrong, but I've always, in my head, I've always said Bluecat.
But it's not booklet anyway, but Bluecat.
No.
And that's just going to talk about breakout rooms. We thought that would be really, really good, particularly since in Microsoft Teams now, that's recently been added, that facility to do it. So she's going to come up with lots of ways in which she's already been doing it from her experience at working at a university. She's got experience of that. So that's next week. But this week we've got, and you can see them here, Esmeralda, Salgado talking about learning apps and deck toys, Adeline, learning apps and embedding in Microsoft OneNote, and they have liaised over what they're doing there. Julia Morris on how to create automatic retrieval quizzes and games with Excel and Flippity. That was the thing which particularly prompted us doing this, because so many people were asking her, yes, but how do you do it exactly? She'd already mentioned it. We already knew about it. But people really want to know, well, how do you do it? And then Jérome here, who modestly says that he has not been here. You have been very well known, Jérome, on Twitter, and he did a fantastic session at Linguascope. So we're delighted that he's going to do something on Wakelet and shortcuts. So I can guarantee these people are going to be giving us lots of really good information. So I've just looked on Twitter and saw this lovely, I didn't get the GIF going, but this thing where Vale Fernandez was saying that she's really looking forward to this amazing webinar, and you had this little GIF there of someone taking notes. Yes, you can take notes, but you will be able to get a recording of this later. So I shall finish, and over now to Joe to introduce the lineup. I shall stop sharing.
Fantastic, lovely. Okay, so the reason that this is happening was because of the fact that we felt very much so that we wanted to have something straight away in our calendar to support you through the TiLT webinars. And before the break, I sort of contacted a few people or put it out there, as it were, that we wanted to do like a show and tell, particularly around new ideas, new tools that have sort of come up in sort of little snapshots on Twitter, or people have been talking about them, but we wanted to do a deeper dive into those. And that's why we've extended this session so that it is 2 hours. So we will have enough time for people to ask questions and what have you, and just go through the nuts and bolts of how to do these different, put these different ideas together. So we're really, really excited that we have this evening, this afternoon, Esmeralda, Adeline, Julia, and Jérome. So we're going to start off with Esmeralda looking at learning apps, if that's okay. If we just do it in the order that we have, if that's okay, so you've got an idea. So each person is going to speak probably for about 20 minutes, I would imagine. But if you go over slightly, that's fine, because obviously we're 15 minutes in now. We want to go past 5:30. So I think probably about 20 minutes. But as per normal, if you could put your questions in the chat, if you put a Q in front of the question, that would be really helpful. And it means that I can then do the job of collecting all the questions as they come in. The session is being recorded, so we don't really want to go over like, can you repeat that again type thing. But if there's any things around, particularly around issues that come up with, GDPR and all the rest of it, and how do you, if it's to do with adding a class to a particular tool, then we can cover all of that sort of stuff. But if it's just repeating something, then I think we'll direct people to watch the recording. So if it's okay, Esmeralda, so this is really thanks to Twitter, the MFL Twitterati, as I've said many times before, have absolutely come to the fore during the pandemic. And I think this is the perfect example of that. So we're very grateful. I know we have Laurence Seltzer here from the States who said on Facebook, I think it was yesterday, that this is the best CPD happening either in the UK or in the States. So, and I agree with that. So that's great. Really appreciate you being here, Laurence. So over to you, Esmeralda, if you'd like to share your screen. So Esmeralda is going to talk about learning apps and then a nod to deck toys as well, I think. So really looking forward to learning exactly how Esmeralda is putting learning apps together. And again, feel free to write your comments in the chat and any questions as well, and I will collect them as we go along. So over to you for about 20 minutes, if that's okay. And thanks so much for agreeing to do this, Esmeralda.
No, that's fine. I'm really looking forward to this, and thank you to everyone who is here. I'm gonna start sharing my screen. So let me know if you can see this, please.
Yeah, all good.
Fantastic. Okay, so yes, welcome to everybody. Please use, I always say to people, but please use the chat, because if the things I'm going to talk about, I don't think this is really new, really, but it would be lovely to see how the people are using things. So yes, let's start and use please the chat to give your ideas. So I'm going to be talking about learning apps in particular. I love this lovely tool. Allows you, basically, for the people who don't know, allows you to create online activities that are interactive, and the kids absolutely love, and they are really easy to share, because every activity will have their own URL. Lovely Adeline will talk to you about some of the features with learning apps, and I'm going to talk to you about other features and how I embed them in other apps, a little bit like app smashing. Yes, for those who don't know, learning apps, when you open it, it looks like this, and you just create an account. It's completely free. And once you create an account, the only thing you need to do comes to create apps, and they've got a lot of things to choose from. And I'm going to concentrate on the closed text today and in the group puzzle. And Adeline will talk about the free text import and other ones that she uses. So the first thing, I'm going to show you some examples, and then I'll show you very quickly how quickly it can actually be done with learning apps. So the first example I've got is a closed text. And as you can see, it's already embedded. I'm using Genially for my presentation, so you can really see how easily and how this would could be embedded in a escape room. I think Marie is here today, Marie Alirod, and she talks a lot about, she's the queen of the escape rooms with Genially. So basically what you can do with learning apps, once you create your activity, you can embed it into Genially, one of the apps, and it would be one of the tasks that the kids have to use or have to complete in order to move into the escape room. And this is basically what it would look like. This is the closed text one, and this is a very long text that I created about the environment, and my students are going to do it next week. The way I would use this first is I would introduce this with sentence builders. The kids would have been doing a lot of other learning apps with the closed text. I would have done dictation. There is a video that the kids did this week about that. And then the next step in the learning process would be for them basically to analyze how much they actually remember the vocabulary, and for me to see. I've done with learning apps, you can create very quickly as well classes, and the kids can log in. I don't bother. What I do is I always tell the kids to write obviously the answers, and at the end they just press basically that. They will tell them when everything is wrong, and when everything is correct, they just take a screenshot and they put it in their OneNote, which is the one I'm using. So this is one of the things, and I'll show you how you do this. Another example of the closed text is with A-level. I think sometimes we forget about A-level, and we forget a little bit about doing interactive things with A-level. What I've done is that I've created, this is from a past paper. In the AQA A-level course, you know there is the one of the activities is the filling gaps, and the kids really find it really difficult. So I always use Exampro, and I was trying to think, how can I make this a little bit more interactive? So what I've done is I went to Exampro. I have the PDF from the normal past paper, and copy the test, paste it, and create it into an activity. You can hear now, and the kids need to choose the correct answer for A level. And this is, and I created a few of these. So the kids basically got a lot of practice with a part of the exam, which is worth actually 10 points, which is quite a lot, and that they find particularly difficult. And now we do them over and over and over again. So first we do it in Exampro, then we come back and we do them like this, and then we repeat it, then we'll do another one. So basically it's about the retrieval practice idea. And I think Learning Apps allows you to do that and seeing the same thing in different ways from different angles. So that's another one I do. And I'm going to show you, and the other one I've been using, which I think is quite good with a closed text, is with a Bitmoji. Once you create with Learning Apps a closed text, you can also include a video. So this is what my students actually in Year 9 did this week. I created first a video with a Bitmoji, okay, with a speak photo, no, photo speak.
Mi ciudad es bastante pequeña.
There he moves the mouth just to make it my own voice, make it more personal. The kids listening to it, and they just a listening activity. They carry on, okay. Basically.
Definitivamente más pequeña que Cambridge.
And they continue, they write it down, and at the end they will tell you, they will say if it's right or wrong, okay. Mi ciudad es bastante, so that was wrong then for me. Yes, so then they can take different goals, see if it's right, if it's wrong, and then they take a screenshot. So this is the close text activities that I just wanted to show you. And how do you do these? So I just want to show you how simple it is. I'm going to do one in about probably, let's see, we can do it in 2 minutes. So go to the Create app, and we are in the closed text. And this is what I love about Learning Apps. It always gives you examples, which I think is brilliant. Sometimes I think this is very powerful. Sometimes you have no idea how to use one of these lovely activities, and then you can go with examples all around the world, and you can see how other people have used it. So I find this very, very inspiring. Once you are happy, you come here. You can have a task description. Normally for me, this is the instructions. And what you can choose here is either to select a word from the list, as I did for the A-level activity, or write in, which is what I did for the Bitmoji example and the Year 11 example. And then in the headline, so let's write in. In here is when you can just, if you want, you can add basically on a text-to-speech. You can add the video. This is what I did basically for the Bitmoji one. My video is there. And then you just copy, you can take and copy up and paste a text from somewhere else. That's basically what I did with the A-level example. But you just do this, okay, that's your text. Then every time this, where you want a gap, you write like that. Another gap, like that. And then in here, you just write what was the letter for each one. Add another element, and you add as many elements as gaps you created. And that's it. That's everything and all the activities with Learning Apps, they are simple as this. At the end, it will give you a preview. The preview would look something like that. If you are really happy with it, you save it. Once you save it, this is the beauty of it, you get the link that you're going to share with your students. Either I use it with OneNote, but you can use it any way you want to, or you can embed it. So for my presentation, when you saw it, I came inside the Genially. What I did is copy that link in the embedding, and then you've got the learning. You got basically the Learning Apps activity. So that's basically, yeah. So that's basically how I do it. The other one, it's activity that I really like with Learning Apps is group puzzle. I'm going to show you why. Okay, group puzzle.
Esmeralda, just while you're there, we've had a few questions around embedding into OneNote with Learning Apps. Are you able to embed the Learning App activities into OneNote, or do you just put the link? Do you put the link in class notebook?
In OneNote, you cannot. You just can't. You can add just the link. So you want it embedded, you need to use either Genially, you can use Tech Toys, you can use, you also screen Classroom, I'm going to show you the ones I use. But yes, no, for OneNote, sadly, you can't. But the Genially, you can. So you put it in a Genially, the Genially gets embedded, and one of the tasks could be the learning apps. So this is the group one that I really, really like, and I'll show you an activity that works really well to do with the whole class. But basically, the idea is categorizing. So what you do, you create as many categories as you want. And in this case, it's all the verbs that present tense. Okay, and it will be B. If you try to do another one, it would say is wrong. And then the kid goes to the preterite, all the verbs in the preterite, goes to the imperfect, all the verbs in the imperfect. If you notice there's something underneath, which is basically a video. So it's a little bit of a reward. It's a Spanish video in there with some music. So something basically to keep the kids engaged and a little bit of anticipation. So that is one of the activities I create with this. And the way you do that, again, just to show you how easy it is, you create a new app. And in this case, you would come to the, what it is, this one is where, yes, the group puzzle. Okay, and you created the same thing. You put the examples, you create your new app, and I'm not going to go through the process because it's as simple as the one you saw with the closed one. And then you just save it, and then it will give you the URL, or it would give you the embedded code. So this is really the other nice activities. And then once you got these activities, for me, is when the fun starts. This is the bare minimum you can do with it. Which already is a lot, but then you can start smashing. So one of the things you can start doing is having a matrix. This is already as well with learning apps. In learning apps, one of the choices that you got here, if you come to create, is actually to create a app matrix. What this does is basically once you create different activities, following hopefully a sequence in your learning, in the students' learning, and in your teaching, what it does is allows you to put all the different activities together, and it creates this lovely matrix for you. So for example, this is about holidays, and it started with a crossword, then it started with images, matching, then the translation, and then there was a dictation. So when the kids come in there, they just go. So that would be the translation. I'm not going to go a lot into this type of activities because I think Adeline is going to talk to you about those. But the idea is that you can have then a sequence of lessons rather than just one activity at a time. This is really good. You're going to share different links together. So rather than having 5 or 6 links, you can have just one with your matrix, and then in the matrix, all the different activities that you want. If you want to have a sequence, you can tell the kids first do the crosswords, then match the images, or just do it as you please. In this one, I wanted them to do it in a sequence. Okay, so that's one of the things that you can do. But you can have even more fun, okay, with all this. And the other fun, the other thing that I use a lot is actually embedded into Genially. So obviously you've seen it with my Genially. I love Genially. I'm not as good as Marie. I am really rubbish with it, in fact, and I'm very lazy. So I always use the board games with Genially. But what it allows you to do, once you create, this is one of the free apps that you have with Genially. This is basically a board game. The kids play together. I'm going to try to do this with the break rooms next week, because obviously once you create your Genially, you can give as well the URL to the students so they can share the screen. And in the breakout rooms, I'm expecting them to play together in groups of 3 or 4, it depending. And then every time they come here, they need to do a little task. So this is actually for A-level. So this whole board is to practice exam skills for the A-level. So the first one is a question about a card. And let me see where, I think it was this one is based on learning apps. So yes, that is. So what I did here is the filling gaps that you saw before, which was based on its own on the past paper. I've just embedded it into these snakes and ladders game. So the kids are playing, when they come here, all as a team, the 2 or 3, they try to sort this out. They can basically decide, okay, which one is it going to be? Could it be this one? Could it be that one? And actually, I think this is very powerful for their own learning and ownership and sharing ideas. And everything is within the context of their lovely snakes and ladders. This is nothing the one that I got here, but just to give you an idea, it's nothing to do with learning apps. What I put from the past papers, the translation, I also put a thing from a past paper. I put a little bit of quizzes that had to do a little bit of a quiz. This is another thing that my kids find very difficult, the summary in A-level. So what I've done is from the past paper, this is taken, this is the summary, and this is the actual audio, and I've embedded into Genially, into this one, and the kids then need to listen to it. Hopefully when it comes here, they can listen, and then they can, hopefully it will work.
Día Internacional de la...
That's work, as you can see, and then they can decide, okay, let's try to do the summary together while they're playing the game. So that's basically the idea with it. So this is one of the things that I use learning apps with and other apps. So we've done, let's have more fun, then we can take it to another level. This is what I'm going to do. This is with classroom screen. I'm going to do this next week. I do have a snowman because, as you know, Spain is going through a storm at the moment and everything is flooded with the snow. So I thought from next week, all my lessons are going to have a snowman. So this is basically the puzzle group activity that I showed you before, how I have embedded it into the classroom screen. So I do have here, how I'm going to do this next week. I'm going to be using Teams. I'm going to share my screen as I'm doing here. I'm going to choose a student in here. Okay, so it would be Kendall's turn, and then I will say, okay, Kendall, present tense. Okay, tell me a verb in here that you can recognize in the present tense. They say juega, for example, and then can you tell me a sentence? Or Kendall, can you nominate someone to tell me a sentence using juegan? Okay, now let's move to Patrick and another person. Okay, so that is Noelia. Okay, can you tell me a verb in the past tense? Mekai. Can you tell me a sentence with mekai, etc.? There is no picture in this particular one because we're going to do it together. So there's not going to be the same incentive when you're playing on your own. But that's a little bit of idea of how well this can be done. In order for this to work in classroom screen, though, you need to have the pro version because in the free version, you don't have the choice to add media. But it's only 20 euros per year, and I think it's really worth it, especially in the lockdown. And if you share an account as a department, that gives you the ability to do something like that, which I think is very nice. And then we can take it to another level. And the next level is actually tech toys. And this is found out about this thanks to lovely Jimena Leticia, isn't it? Or Licitra, sorry, Jimena, I know you're here. So this is just from Jimena, fell in love with this because I love gamification in the classroom. And I'm going to show you how I do it. Once you create a deck of an activities, this is what it would look like for the kids. And the kids just log in with a Microsoft account, in our case, or they just can be guest students, and that's it. And this is basically, I'm going to show you how I use tech toys with learning apps, basically. So this is the same. I don't want to do it as a student. Okay, so I'm going to reset all the activities. And you see, yes, please reset them. Fine. Basically, tech toys, if you're not familiar with it, is tech toys, deck.toys. What allows you to do is to create a deck of activities. You can see every single thing here that is very like a shaded kind of thing, okay? Or that there are activities that you've created. And you can see here that some dots, as the kids complete the activities, the path starts basically highlighting. And the beauty of it is you cannot jump to an activity to another. It's a little bit like a escape room, okay? I always try to put an island, so the idea is you need to escape the island. And they need to start in the entrance. They normally tell you basically what you need to do. In my case, I also told the kids they need to collect some keys around the area. And so when they come here, there are activities they have to do. Some of those activities are based on learning apps, and that's what I wanted to show you. So, for example, the first one, this is what I did with my year 9s last week when we came back from holidays. First one, just continue, I'm going to do it as a teacher. First thing I always tell them at the beginning is to enter the activity, they need to say something. So in this, me do that. Tenía, so this is basically the vocabulary we're working at the moment. Unlock, and then it looks like this from the kids' point of view. This is my Bitmoji speaking as well, and this is what Tech Toys allows you to do, which I think is amazing. You can actually, the kids can actually enter a response. I think is brilliant. And then you create your classes. You can see here, you can see everybody's responses there. You can mark them afterwards, which I think is absolutely fantastic. The kids write down, they listen to the
Mi ciudad es bastante pequeña, definitivamente.
basically a listening. And then what they do is that they write down what they understood from that listening. So it's a completely open one. Then they press submit. Once they press submit, they always have to go to this little arrow and close the activity. And now that has become green. So you completed the path. So I said, at the moment, because I'm a teacher, I'm allowed to jump. A student would have to go in that particular order. And this is the filling gaps one. So you come just to get an idea how it would look like. Okay, teachers, yeah. I would need to say the little code, which is always a little translation or conjugation. They come and say continue. And this is the activity that I showed you before. Okay, so what I've done here is that I put it in here and I have reutilized this all the time invested. It took me 5 minutes. I can put it in a Geniali. I can put it in a Tech Toys. Sometimes the kids are doing the same activity or just change a few words and they don't realize that's the idea. And they keep and do the activity in here, basically. If you notice, there are some keys because with Tech Toys where you can put these little keys around that the kids need to collect. You collect your key. That's the silver key. And then when you close it at the end, there's some keys that you can enter. And if you collect them, you can come here and basically the idea is you need to complete all the activities because you don't know where the keys are, basically. And in order to complete activities, you need to finish them. So you come here because I'm a teacher. I do have I have the master key. The kids, you haven't collected a particular key, it wouldn't work. That's basically the idea. And just to give you an idea, although this is about learning apps, that in Tech Toys, like in the same as with Geniali, you can embed anything. So at the moment, for example, another thing I like in embedding is Wheel of Names, I think it was. So I think this is this phone deck, right? So when you open it, just to show you what I have embedded now with this is a spin of wheel. So the kids play on their own the spin of wheel, and then it translates the sentences orally. And Deck of Toys not only allows you to enter answers in writing, also allows, sorry for the noise, they can here, they translate that, they can remove it from the list, and when they're ready, they can record their voices. So there's an oral activity now. Click to the microphone, they are recording, then and when they finish, they just need to process the recording and then you submit it and you can have a look later. So you can see here, there's another key. They could have done it. And once they're done, they just come here and they say close the activity. So this is basically when some of the ideas that I use basically, and you got the randomizer as well from Flippity. I just basically took all the ideas from all different online and embedded it together. This is not the time to show you how Tech Toys work, but it takes a little bit of time sometimes to get around the idea, but I absolutely love it. It's free and you can make up to 3 decks. All these things are called decks. And after 3, you need to pay. Don't remember, it's not a lot of money. I think it's well worth it. Again, if you do it with your department, and at the end, as a teacher, you can manage the students and you can basically see your classroom report where all the answers from the text will be in there, for you to mark. And I think that's it. I try to make it as quick as possible. As I said, I don't think, yes, with Deck of Toys, don't want to spend ages with that, how to show you how, because that's not the purpose of today's, but I'm more than welcome to show it another time in another webinar. And I think that's it. I don't know if that was, I don't know if there was anything more in my presentation. I think the next, another level. No, that's it. That's all the activities I basically prepared for you today.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Esmeralda. So we've got 3 questions which have come up. I've tried to, or people have tried to answer all the other questions, but there were 3 I wanted to put to you, if that's okay, from the chat. So the first one is there a way for students to access accents and other characters they will need within the app? That's referring to learning apps when writing their answers. Does it work like Word with key shortcuts, or will they have to copy them from Word? How do you deal with the accents?
The key cards work. So all the key cards that you would normally use, I do know the Alt, J plus I, all the key cards.
Okay, so you use the standard keyboard shortcuts, or if people are accessing it on a mobile device, they'll just use the keyboard by holding their finger down on the letter, so the accented letter comes up. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Second question: for the Snakes and Ladders game, playing it in groups of 3, do you have to give each group a different link? How does that work?
No, what I do is the same link for all of them. I put it in OneNote. Then what I'm planning to do is one of them in the break rooms next week will have to share the screen, one of the kids. And because they do have, obviously in the screen, they have the OneNote open, they will open it, and all the other ones don't need to do anything. It's going to be like a master. I'm going to give someone the power to be the king, be responsible for the little break room. And that person will share it, and everybody will play with that, and they just basically do the activities together.
That's fantastic, lovely. And then the last question, how do students access deck toys? Do you send the students the link to the deck toys that you've created? How do you manage that?
Yeah, basically what you need to do is you need to create a classroom, basically, and then you assign your deck toys to a classroom. Once you finish your deck, it allows you, like when it comes as share, and when you share it rather than directly to the actual deck toy, the actual deck, what you need to do is you need to assign it to a classroom that you created in deck toy. That's why when I was sharing the screen, there was on the left different classrooms, and then you can assign all the different deck toys to the different ones, and then the kids access it with a specific code from there.
Fantastic. And have you checked whether deck toys is GDPR compliant, for example? Because obviously that's a really important issue with all these different tools that we're looking at.
I think to be honest, I haven't, but that's a very good point, Jotel. I should have been.
Just I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but but in relation to all these tools we're looking at, we need to make sure that things are GDPR compliant.
It's an educational site, 100%. Yeah. So I'm assuming it is. And when I've used it, the kids absolutely love it. I started using it last week. And the kids really, really liked it. And there is no any way there they can get out of the little deck. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah. And they're not sharing their names, are they?
No, because what they do is that they're private, and the only thing they do when they come as a guest, they just use the name but not the surname, and then they just log on as with the Google accounts or with the Microsoft accounts.
Okay.
So that would be the thing. Okay.
Jimena
has been using them because I got this idea from Jimena. Probably they can tell us. But I assume because it's an educational site, so all the decks are from education. They're from teachers all around the world.
Okay. And have you done a video tutorial about learning apps as well? Because haven't you done like a step-by-step on learning apps or not?
No, with learning. Do I have? I don't know. Remember, I don't think I do have one with learning apps. I've done a few.
Okay.
I don't think I do have with learning apps. I'm more than happy to create one because it's with a different.
Yeah, that's excellent. Because obviously we've looked at lots of different ideas, but I think if you were then to go back and to work this out step by step, I think because I know that Julia Morris, who I know is with us this afternoon, she created like a Google Doc with all the different exercise types that you can have with learning apps. So I don't know, Julie, if you could share that in the chat if you have that.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat in a minute.
Lovely. But yeah, that's brilliant. I think it's been it's perfect. Exactly what we had in mind. That's great, Esmeralda. Thank you so much.
Julia, that's really good. It would be good to again. Yes, Julia did one of those, so that would be absolutely fantastic. But it is really, I created one. I know it was just 3 or 4 minutes, but it really is very intuitive. Really, really intuitive. Deck toys is not as intuitive, and I think deck toys probably you need like a tutorial, and they got lovely tutorials there. It needs a little bit of time to get your head around it. I think the potential is phenomenal.
Yeah. Lovely. Okay, well, I'm sure those people who are new to a lot of these ideas, learning apps is absolutely a staple, isn't it? Of one that you can use. And for those people who have done a lot of these ideas already, I'm sure deck toys is something that is new to lots of people, and therefore they can have a go at doing that. So we're trying to cater to everyone's needs, really. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for everything you do in general, Esmeralda, but particularly for your slot today. So Adeline, if it's okay, if we hand over to you for your next part of the show and tell. Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah, I'll start sharing. It's my whole screen. Share sound. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, all good.
Perfect. So I also made my presentation in Genially, so I can share the whole thing at the end, no problem. And I'm just going to move on from what Esmeralda said, and just going to show you how to make the matching pairs, the group assignment, and the free text input. And then I'll just show you a couple of the examples of the other ones. As Esmeralda said, once you've made a couple, it's really quite straightforward. But I'm happy to take questions on any of the others. And then I'll show. After that, I'll show a few examples of lessons on OneNote where I've not embedded, but I've used the links into my OneNote. So the matching pairs is probably the one that I use the most, particularly because if you're in lockdown, if you're remote teaching, it's great for listening, sort of short listening exercises. And it works for reading, listening, or you can have it with pictures. So I'm just going to show quickly. So I didn't embed mine. So you might, there we go. So when you're on there, once you've created your account, and it's all free, you click on matching pairs. You get the example. You then go into create new app, and then you give it a title. So it could be something as simple as colors or something like that with a younger group. Task description, you would just tell them match the English to the French or whatever. And then you start creating your pairs. And then each time you've got the option of putting in text, putting in an image, text to speech, so that's the one for listening. You can import audio for somewhere else or import a video. I mostly use the first three. So if you just do text, you literally go, so what I've said, I was doing colors. So one in French, one in English. Ideally, you keep them the same way around each time. So that's if you're just doing a sort of reading, and obviously you can have much longer sentences. If you want to do an image, you would just import an image and have one as an image and then the other one as the word in the language that you want to use. The really useful feature there is text to speech. So you click on that, and then so if I say, for instance, violet, you have to remember to say which language you've used, otherwise you will just pronounce it in an English way, which is quite funny, but not what you want. And then you put your other, so the English word you want to match it with. And you can keep adding elements. I'm not sure what the limit is actually, but I've definitely added quite a lot and not had a problem. You've got the option to add additional elements that are wrong if you want to make it a bit harder for them. And then you can decide whether the pairs will stay up on the screen or whether they'll disappear. I tend to make them disappear because it makes it a bit easier. I teach in a prep school, so I teach slightly younger, up to year 8, but down to year 5. So it's easier for them if I do that. And then you have this other option where if you were to leave them on the screen, you would decide whether your cards are going to stick together one above the other or one next to the other. It doesn't really matter because I'm making them disappear here. And then at the end, I always change that to some French message to say, well done, you've done it. And then you do finish editing. And so then your pairs are kind of, you have to match a blue one with a orange one each time. So you go like that. And then this audio, hopefully I've shared my sound so it should work. They would click on there.
Violet.
And there you go, and they can listen again
Violet.
if they want. And in French, it's perfect French accent, no problem at all. And then you match it and you get the message to tell you well done. And then you can save your app. I need to go back to my, sorry. So that's that one. I just need to be able to change my page at the top. Go back. There we go. There. Okay, So a couple of examples that I've made. So reading one on directions, which is just a, you go match the French to the English. And then this is for my year sixes, we do directions. So they've got, and so you see there's quite a lot more there on the page. I've got, for listening, I thought it'd be really useful with dates and numbers. That's the one for when we do listening, that's always, and I'm guessing it's the same at GCSE level, but they struggle with recognizing dates and numbers. So I made one for my year sevens and year eights where it's a mixture of dates and numbers, quite a lot on there. And again, you would just listen.
818.
And this one was really quick because she typed in numbers and it reads them out for them, and they can just keep practicing that. And then with pictures, we did one for Christmas before the holidays where this is what it would look like. You've got all the pictures of Christmas things and then the French words. So that's matching pairs. As I say, in lockdown, I use it most for listening. And then otherwise it can be used as homework. Like Esmeralda said, I would ask my, I don't ask my, don't get my pupils to register. I've got the free account. And then they take a screenshot at the end and stick it in their OneNote to show me that they've completed it. So that's matching pairs. The next one I'm going to show you is called group assignment. And that works really well for things like presentations, prepositions, sorry, choosing the right article, showing that they know the gender of a word. So if I go create app, I'll show you how you create one of those. So you click on group assignment here. And that's what it looks like. So you've got these 4 on here, 4 categories, and then ideas come up and you have to drag them to the right category. So if I click create new app, sorry, my internet is a little bit, there we go. So again, I'm just going to keep it really simple, but like with my year 5s, we were doing school subjects recently. So if I call it, sorry, school subjects. And again, you could explain what they have to do. So you create your group. You know, at the moment, there's 2 groups ready for you. You could put an image or just text. So I could just do, one is going to be le. My second group is going to be la. And then I'm going to add another group that is L', and a final group, le. And then you start adding elements to your group. So words that are going to have to be dragged to that word or that picture to be correct. So school subject, that's masculine, and then some, oops, feminine one, la musique, apostrophe, I go informatique, oops, and then finally plural, and there you go. So I've got of each. There you go. You can add more. I'm not sure how many groups you can add actually. The most I've done is 4, but clearly you can put more in. Then you choose how you want the cards, so that the words to appear on the screen, whether you want them to appear one after the other or all at the same time. I tend to go for one after the other. And then again, you can change the message at the end. And then this is what it looks like. So you've got your 4 categories, and then you have to drag. So you put them all as they appear in the right place. Okay. And if I did this one wrong, and then at the end, they can actually do that before. I tend to tell them to do it all and then check. They click on here to basically, it self-marks. So now they know one of them is wrong. So they have a look, they think, oh yes, of course, it starts with a vowel. There you go. Now it's all correct. And then they would screenshot that and put it in their OneNote again to show me that they've done it. So I've done it with a few, I've done 3, well, probably got more, but I've got examples, for instance. So I've got activities, coming up, and whether, you know, so je joue au rugby, je fais du ski, je fais de la natation, etc. I've got one with food, for instance, to, you know, teach them to use du, de, la, de with food words, and then one with places in town, for instance, for using à la, au, etc. Again, all the words that we'd learned. This was for my year sixes, etc. So this is, it works quite well for grammar, basically. So that's group assignment. The last one I'm going to show sort of step by step is free text input, which Esmeralda mentioned. It's a great one, again, for listening, but also for dictation. You could use it, you know, I teach English as well. I could use it for spellings, for instance. And again, it's self-marking, which is really good. You could use it for a sort of low stake retrieval practice, vocab text. So how it works, you go text, free text input here, and come up with an example, create new app, give it a title, and then it's just cards. So you would just say, okay, how do you say, you could use it for verb, you know, how would you say I played? And then you put your solution there. You could, again, have it text to speech. You put in something and it will be read out to them and they have to copy it. So that would be the dictation function. You could have a picture and they have to say what it is, etc. The hints there, if you had a bigger sentence, like, I don't know, and it was, well, that's not, it'd have to be in English, really. My sister is very annoying, and the answer would be ma sœur, for instance. In the hint, I don't often use the hint, but for this one, it's quite, you can make it slightly easier and give them, for instance, the first letter of each word as a hint, for instance. Then you can decide whether it's case sensitive, whether you only need the solution to be within what they've said, random order, etc. And then finish editing. And I'm just going to show you a couple I've made. So just two of them. This one was quite a short words or short sentences. So this was my year 5 qualifiers, personality, adjective. So I think I did do, there we go. So if they hover on the I, they get the first words. And then again, it's self-mark. So you, if I said, or something, and then you do that and it's not correct, so you then have to look back. It's quite good for making them look really closely, because it will spot, you know, it's when they say does spelling matter. For this one it really does, so they have to think, okay, it's wrong, what have I done, if they've just forgotten an accent or something. I sometimes don't put, it depends which year group I'm doing it with. If it's the younger ones, I will either avoid accents if I can, or just not put them in, because they struggle a bit, but my older ones are fine with putting them in. And then you can do longer sentences. So this is a year 8 example of, so that's something I haven't done yet, I'm going to use next week with my year 8. Longer sentences to translate, so that works. It makes them focus. I've put fewer there, but hopefully they'll have a go at that. There we go. So the rest, I'm just going to show a few examples. So I'm not going to show the puzzle. Esmeralda showed how it would be used, but I've got a couple of examples. So when I share my presentation, and if you click each time on the examples, you will get a link to my learning app, so you can see what I've done. One you can do is matching pair on images. So you get a picture and instructions, and basically this is just a picture I got from the internet, and then you put pins in and then you give it words. And so if I click on there, it gives me all the words that I've put in, and they have to click and basically just label the whole picture. You can do memory, which is quite nice. So I just use it with words. So this is a frequency words, so they have to, and it's, you know, it's the whole memory thing where you have to keep turning over the things and then remembering where you've seen the right one. Or again, you can do it almost as a kind of narrow reading. So this one has much longer sentences on my ideal has. So that's, yeah, they have to read really quite carefully and try and remember which is which. And you could make it more into a narrow reading by making sentences that are very similar. That would be quite tricky, but I think it would work quite well. Horse race, I've only done one of those. It's probably more fun for younger children, and I find it a little bit slow, but there is an option to play with friends, which I actually haven't tried, but otherwise you just play against the computer. There we go. So I used it for preposition, choosing the right one, you click, and then your horse moves, but I find it's a little bit slow, so I haven't used that one very much. Matrix, I won't show that because Esmeralda did that. I've got a couple of those, but yeah, it's great when you can put a few of your apps together on the same topic for revision or for prep or something like that. That's quite useful. And I think that's it on that. Okay, so I'll share my presentation and you'll have all that. So I'm just going to show quickly a few examples of how I've embedded those, or used those rather, into OneNote. So this is just a few examples of lessons. So we use OneNote as our, we've started using it in lockdown, and since September, all our pupils have got devices now from year 5 onwards. And so I've just used OneNote all of last term as their exercise books, basically, just in case we had a year group who had to go home. And now, obviously, as we start next week in lockdown, we'll be using that again. So this is an example of group assignment where we were working on saying to thee or at thee in French. So we've got a lesson, examples, the rules that we'd go through. And then I had a little table there with all this vocab up here. And they put it all in the table. And then that links to one of my learning apps. We go down here. Yeah, the places in town one with that I showed you earlier. So that's one activity that they're going to do in that lesson. I've got one here where I use group assignment and a gap fill in this lesson. So this is a lesson to discuss where to talk about where you live. It's not the first lesson, so I started off on Quizlet, revising the vocab, and then using one of the group assignment learning apps that I showed you earlier. Do you know whether these are massive? They had to drag the places in town to le, la, les, etc. Then we did a Tangle translation. So I have the text here that they can highlight, and then they translated it in French, in English. And then I basically used that text again into a gap fill. So just another way of reinforcing same text. It's quite short, it's for my year 6s, and they're a lower ability set. So they've worked on that vocab quite a lot, and then that's just another way of getting them to practice it. And then this was last summer in lockdown with year 5, talking about what they do online and frequency. And it was that same set that I've now got in year 6. So they're they can find it quite hard sometimes. We've been working on that. I realized they were really struggling. So I made 3 different learning apps for them to practice just that vocab in the orange box here. So there's a reading matching game, a listening matching game, and then that memory game I showed you. So 3 different ways of practicing the same thing. Often they're children who can't concentrate on one thing for very, very long. So it kind of varies things, makes it a bit more interesting for them. And finally, I've got this one where I use 3 gap fills. This, I think, is an idea I got from Jane Bassnett, who's speaking next week. And again, it's sort of, I guess, narrow reading, or just, you just one text and how you can exploit that one text. So I made a gap fill. I like that in the gap fill, you can put a background. It's a bit prettier. I kind of hope at some point that Learning app will make the rest of it slightly prettier as well. So it's the same text every time. but each time I've blanked out different words. And then same text again, can you translate it back into French? I don't know what it says in English there. So just working on this vocab, and it's just different ways. And I like that in OneNote, I can just give them the link in there in their lesson, and it's just one more activities that they can click on. And as I say, they can take a screenshot, stick it in if it's a prep or now that we're not in class. There you go. That's me done. Should I stop sharing?
Fantastic. Thank you ever so much, Adeline. That was brilliant. The chat today has been absolutely fantastic. There's been so much support. There were a couple of questions that came up. One question was, is there a way of importing ready-made lists as like a bulk add you can do in, say, Quizlet and Textavate? Is that possible in learning apps, or do you have to write it all from scratch?
I'm not sure. I've always done them all from scratch, but it's really quick. So yeah, it's almost quicker to do it that way.
Do you ever use voice to text, or do you always write it on the keyboard?
I always just write it and I get the computer to say it, because the French accent is completely fine. So yeah.
With the pronunciation, can you slow it down at all, or is it the speed that it is?
I don't think they can. No. I mean, in OneNote, the Immersive Reader, you can slow it down, which is really good. And the French is very good again, but I don't think you can in Learning app. No.
Okay, fantastic. And then the last question in relation to, do you have access to a library of exercises created from other teachers? I think this was sort of mentioned a little bit in the chat, but I think, am I right in saying that you can make exercises copyable? Is that right?
Yes, or you can. Yes, that's right. So you can, if people share, I think most apps you just share basically. If you look up, you know, French colors or something, it'll come up with what other people have done, and then you can click. You open that, and you can click, I think, make similar app, and it basically becomes editable for you to then. You can either save, if someone's thing is perfect, you can just save that into your library. If you think, oh, I need to tweak it a bit, then you can remake it, but it's there for you to edit. So yeah, you can use other
fantastic people. So if you want to share a link that you created on Learning Apps in, say, OneNote, you don't need to make it public, do you? Is that right?
I think so. Yeah, that's that. Yeah.
So to share it in OneNote, you don't need to make it public. But if you want to allow other people to copy it, then you do need to make it public. Is that right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. Superb, lovely. Okay, I think those are all the questions. We've had so many questions tonight. It's been wonderful, and I can see that some people have been asking for a recap on OneNote. For those people that weren't here back in March, we do have Jane Bassnett who did a couple of sessions for us on OneNote, and also Sandra Actas on Teams as well. But I'm sure another OneNote session would be very. I
was going to say that I've just put in the chat there a link to a page where I've put a database of the webinars that we've had. So if you do a search on that webinar, you'll find loads and loads of references to OneNote, but there are some really key ones at the beginning that we all learned loads from. So I would suggest that we say to people, as Joe has said, because we've covered this quite a lot, to ask people to look at those webinars. And then I do think for us to have like a clinic at some point so that people can then ask questions, because if you're starting from fresh, it's a lot to take on all at once. And sometimes having that live interaction rather than just watching a video is something people want. And we had that, and we were so grateful to people like Jane and Sandra at the beginning who were there in the webinar. And like now, it's just nice sometimes to have that interaction. So I think to almost promise you that we will set something like that up quite soon. And it may be that people who are doing Google would like to do a similar thing for Google Classroom, so that we just say, right, all our Microsoft people go together, all Google people together, and just free for all, that people can just ask the experts. Perhaps we'll call it that.
Well, I like the idea of clinic, the whole sort of medical, you know, notion of it. Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, lovely. That's fantastic. So 2 excellent speakers so far. We're halfway through. It's now Julia Morris, who's going to be talking to us about retrieval practice and Flippity, and I know this is going to be amazing as well. So no pressure, Julia, and Happy New Year. Over to you. Oh, and please mention your book as well, of course. Please do mention it.
Okay. Well, if you're interested in escape rooms, I've got a book about escape rooms in education, which has lots of templates for Genially and for PowerPoint as well. maybe I'll put a link in later. But I wanted to say about learning apps. So I've already put it in the chat, but maybe I can say it as well. So if you want other people to be able to use your apps, you need to make them public, which is a bit of a pain on learning apps, because you have to fill in a little form where you have to say which subject is, which subtopic, and so on. So it doesn't automatically go public. But so for example, for German at the moment, there are a few things, but sometimes they're not so easy to find. So if you're now really keen on learning apps and want to make lots of activities, it would be really great if you can try and make them public. So then it makes it much easier for other people. And I think if we kind of all work on this together, we can build up quite a great data collection there. Okay, good. But I'll start with Retrieval Roulette now. So this is based on a Excel sheet, and for the second part I'm going to talk about Flippity, which is based on Google Sheets. So if you only got access to Google, then you can do the second half. If you only got access to Microsoft, then the first one, but hopefully ideally you've got both of them. The students don't need any accounts for this. Okay, let me quickly share my screen. Screen share, there we go. And I'll put in the sound just in case I need it. There we go, done one, nice. Okay, so retrieval practice, I would say the two main points of it really are that you do regular testing of yourself. So not just read the vocab again, but actually test yourself on how much you remember, or the students test themselves. And secondly, that you mix in old topics and new topics. So trying to have a few bits of vocab from the present topic, plus a few from older topics. And that's what this activity does, basically. So it's not specifically for remote learning. You can use it in a classroom, or you can put a copy of it on your OneNote page or Word document or whatever. But really, it's better if you have a live lesson. So when the teacher can play or do the activities with the students. So really best if you're in a lesson, either face to face or over camera. Okay, so the Retrieval Roulette, what it does is generate random games, or games with a random selection of vocab out of all the vocab you've done so far. So it's all based on this Excel spreadsheet. I can't say that I've made it. I'm not that good at all these formulas in Excel, even though I have to say I have learned quite a lot from playing around with this. So it's based on an idea by Adam Boxer, who I think is a science teacher, and then another teacher called Scott Alsop, who is a history teacher. He's expanded it and added a few more games, and then I've added another game as well and tweaked it a little bit. So it's kind of different people have contributed to it. So if you manage to make any more games, then obviously please share it with us. So at the beginning, when you first set it up, it will take quite a long time to prepare, because really you need to put in all your vocab for the whole year, ideally. Or if you're doing a GCSE course, put in the whole lot for year 10 and year 11. So if you've already got a digital vocab book, hopefully it won't take too long. You can just copy it in. I mean, this is my original version. For later vocab, I've started turning it more into sentences, because I'm now starting to do more the whole sentence builder strategy. So I think it's better to have it in sentences, but it's up to you and depends on the ability of the students. So put in all your questions and answers, so the vocab list basically, into this spreadsheet. Sorry, can I quickly say, Joe, I sent you the link earlier. Could you please share it? At the moment, I can't see the chat, so yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately the chat has been incredibly busy, and I haven't actually got that link. I don't know if you could send it again.
Okay.
Just on another point as well, are you able to share the Excel sheet with everyone, and is it available in French? Is it available in French and Spanish as well, or just German?
Well, I mean, I think there are people on Twitter who have started doing it. I'm not quite sure who though, but I think if you just send out a Twitter message to the MFL Twitterati, you might find people who have already done a French or a Spanish version.
Fantastic.
So mine is only in German, I'm afraid. But really, as I said, you just copy and paste in your own vocab list, basically. Let me quickly go back to the chat and chuck in that link to the document. I hope it's, which one is it now? Wait, I think.
Oh, that's cool. You've got an extended clipboard. Is that a Windows thing?
Yes. So yeah, by the way, if you don't know this trick, it's so good. If you want to copy lots of things from one page onto another one, like vocab lists, for example. So you just copy and paste. No, you just copy all the items you need, and then you click the Windows key on your keyboard and V. So instead of Control V, you put Windows key V, and then it shows you the whole list of all the stuff you copied recently.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that saves so much time. But unfortunately, I don't know where my thing is going now.
Is that, isn't it?
Well, I think that's the one with learning apps.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It was there. Sorry, it's this one here. Hopefully I'm not sharing anything bad now.
Let's find out, Julia.
Students' confidential details. Oops. Yeah, so hopefully it's an overview which has the links to different.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Don't worry.
And it also has some YouTube videos if you need to watch it again. Okay, good. So what this actually does, you put in your vocab. You need to also number the questions at the front. So this is really important. They're all properly numbered with no gaps, otherwise it doesn't work. So if you haven't got any numbers in there, you can just type in, just do the first few, and then if you highlight the first 3 and then pull it down by the corner, it will do all the numbering automatically for you. Okay, but just be aware that you don't have any gaps. Then in this column, you need to put in the topics, and I would try to make the topics as small as possible so you can use it while you go along through the chapter. So don't just do the whole of unit 1 as one topic, but break it down maybe by double page. Okay, so once you've done this, you're good. At the beginning of the lesson, all you need to do is fill in this yellow box that in the corner here. So it says start of current topic and end of current topic. So I've made a little table of content here. So let's say we're just learning the topic of town. So I look in here. So we've got 387 to 410. So 387 to 410. So put in these ones. So that means the vocab for the town topic is here in these numbers between 380 and so on. And now that's where the fun starts, when we go through all these other tabs. So here we've got all my games now. So out of all the vocab up to 410, it has chosen a random selection of vocab. And there's slightly more of the current topic, plus some random ones of all the other topics beforehand. And that's why you need to say up to where they have learned it. So this game, you could use it as a battleship. So the teacher, as I said, it's better to play teacher against class, but I could also play this in pairs. So one person writes down, I don't know, my ship is in 1C and 3C, and then the students would translate the box and they would say das Tabakwarengeschäft is a tobacco shop, and then if they get it right, then I tell them, oh yes, you hit the ship, and so on. You could also use it as notes and crosses, so that's why I've got these red things here, so you can just drag them on there and say notes and crosses. So it's kind of an extended notes and crosses where they can get more than just 1 point. So after they got 3 in a row, they can carry on playing, and then the winning team is the one that gets the most of 3 in a row somewhere. There is a treasure hunt activity, and again, it's done a random selection, so it's different vocab on here than it's on there. So the treasure hunt, you just look under the treasure chest, so they have to translate the word, and under there is a green flag. That means they get a point. If they get, oh, this is also a point. If they get a cross, then they've lost. And then whichever team has the most flags is the winner. And the flags and crosses also randomly generate. So they will be in different places each time. And then lots of other games. We've got Connect 4. So a bit like noughts and crosses, but they always have to drop the coin in all the way to the bottom, basically. And then the next one can go on top. You can do Blockbusters, again, a team game. They can go from, orange has to go from left to right, and blue has to go from top to bottom by putting these things in. Oh, then it should be at the front, but never mind. And yeah, so different ones. There's this is just kind of like a quiz. The great thing is, if I now press on my keyboard F9, it randomly generates the next lot. So if, for example, there are quite a lot of difficult vocab on there, then I just press F9 again, and it gives me a new lot. Okay. For my spreadsheet, I've rigged it so that it's always half into German and half into English. But I've got two different versions of the spreadsheet, which are on the link that I've shared. So one of them, everything will be into English, and on the other version, it's half and half. So it takes half of the questions from the question column and half of the questions from the answer column to just have a little variety of more difficult questions and easier questions. And I mean, if you're doing a game with points, so you could just use this one and say, anyone who can translate one of the yellow boxes, which are the English ones, they get double points. And if you can translate one from an older topic, then you get triple points or something like that. So you can vary it a little bit. In a minute, I can show how I've made the table of content, because there's also a way of doing it automatically. But before I do that, I want to show Flippity. So you might already know some of the Flippity games. And the great thing is you can just literally just copy and paste this whole spreadsheet and put it over into a Google spreadsheet to make more games. And the Flippity games look even nicer as well, I think. So let's go to Flippity. So let's say I've just copy and pasted. No, I copied that whole list. Now I'm in the Flippity sheet. So it's loading. At the bottom here, I've got different tabs, and I need to go into the questions tab again. And you see it looks identical to the Excel spreadsheet. And again, at the beginning of the lesson, I need to fill in that yellow box. So literally, that's the only preparation you will need to do to have a new game in every single lesson, is literally just fill in that yellow box. So it just saves so much time once you've set it all up. So fill in the yellow boxes. Then what it does is it chooses 12 questions out of this whole thing, out of all those. And I need to go to get link here.
Alexa, add Jumbo.
Say again.
I think it was someone who had their mic on by mistake.
Ah, okay, that's fine. Right. Yeah, sorry, I'll step back. Once you've set it up, so once you've copied in your questions, just the very first time you do it, you need to go to File and Publish to Web for it to work. So I've already done it, so that's fine. And sorry, now I can't get rid of this again. Can't see the cross. How do I get rid? Sorry, I need to zoom out now. This is a bit annoying here. There you go. There you go. Still zooming. No, don't go away. Sorry. Now I need to zoom back in again. Okay, I think this just happened because the Zoom call was around it. So normally you shouldn't have that problem. Okay, so you've added your questions, you've published it to a web. At the beginning of the lesson, put in the yellow boxes, then go to the tab that's called Get Link here. And well, there is a link. So I start this link, and this now takes me to Flippity, where it's created a set of flashcards based on those 12 random questions. So you could just play with the flashcards first if you wanted to. So there are lots of different things you can do, turn them around and so on. You could give it out as a list, and it even speaks as well. You can practice it. So here they would need to turn it into past tense. So something like sie hat gejubelt. Oh, why is this not right? Oh, I've got a full stop. And I don't know if you can see, but there's a share link at the bottom. So you can just copy this link, give it to your students. The disadvantage is you won't see if your students have done it or not. So they will just have to post the screenshot, or you have to trust them. But the advantage is they don't need any accounts. So they don't need to have a Google account or anything. It's now just freely available because we've published it to the web. Okay, you can also do a matching game. So this is all kind of similar to Quizlet. The exciting part is when you go to more, because you get all these extra games. So you can print bingo cards. So this doesn't really make sense online, but if you print them, you can, where's the list gone? You can create a crossword puzzle. Again, this one is meant to be printed. Oh, it's a bit long now because I've got whole sentences in there. And definitely the favorite of everyone, the quiz show is really fun. So I can choose how many teams I've got. At the bottom here, it says more or less teams. So let's say we've got 4 teams. And then team 1 would say star 100. And then they get a sentence. And if they're able to translate this into German, then I as a teacher need to say, well, didn't do it now. I as a teacher have to say over here, yes, you got this right, ding ding, get a little noise. Or if they get it wrong, I can say, no, wrong, and they lose the points. So the slight disadvantage with a quiz is that because it's random questions, the hundreds aren't actually easier than the 200s, which is a bit mean. But yeah, it's just a mix of everything now. Yeah, so there are lots of different games. So the snowman is basically like hangman. You can create a word cloud, word search, all these different things. I'm not going to go through all of them now, but as you can see, we're just spending like one day or so at the beginning of the year putting in all the vocab. You get all these games, and each time you start Flippity, the vocab will be different, which is great. So you don't need to generate all this. And obviously with everything on here or on the Excel sheet, you can always just take a screenshot and put that on a worksheet or on a OneNote page or Google Classroom or whatever, if you want the students to do it at home. So you could just use the crossword puzzle, for example, and send it to them to be printed at home, or when you're in class, you can print it out for them. What else did I want to say about Flippity? Yes, I think that was it about Flippity. Are there any questions for now?
I think, again, all the questions have been answered, apart from the last one from Margaret, which was, would you recommend using Flippity activities in breakout rooms?
Yes, I guess they could play it with each other. Yes, I haven't tried it yet, but yeah, you can just share the link with them. And then just like, was it Adeline said, you can give it to, I know, Esmeralda said with her game that she makes one person in charge and they can move things around. Yeah, you could do that. On Flippity, there's also a very cool board game as well. It just doesn't quite work with my randomizer list. But there's nothing stopping you from copying part of the vocab list and putting it into the worksheet activity, which is very cool, actually. So they even have little figures that they can move around. And then when they click on here, it will give them the question. So obviously, instead of move forward 6 spaces, oh no, wait, the questions are in here, actually. So in this case, it's just examples. but it would then show you the vocab list that you've put in, which is quite good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but that's kind of a separate activity.
Lovely. Well, I'm sure we're going to be having another TiLT webinar all about Flippity, and it seems to be coming up a lot. So if there's anyone who's still not sure about how Flippity works, don't worry. We'll have other sessions around Flippity in the future, I'm sure. Thank you so much, Julia. That was brilliant.
Yeah. Can I just say, with the Flippity worksheet, you need to use the templates that I've sent if you want to link it up to the Retrieval Roulette, because that reduces the numbers to 12. Because otherwise, if you just use the normal Flippity template that you download directly from the Flippity website, then you get all the 600 questions or whatever in your activity, which doesn't really work. So make sure you use my link, because it reduces the number to 12.
Fantastic.
Did you want me to show about the how to make the table of content, or
how long would it take to do that?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
Helen has spoken. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
I'm being very selfish here.
Go for it.
That's fine. It took me a while to work it out, but I think I've got it now. So can I just delete this? No. Okay. So what you need to do is you highlight all the first 4 columns. Then you go to Insert and Pivot Table. I don't know how to say that, but I assume it's that. And I would say choose where you want to put it in the existing worksheet, and then just click on an empty cell. So let's say we want to put it over there, and then click OK. So now it comes up with this extra little window. Here we want the number and the topic, because for our table of content, we don't really need the questions. We just need the topic and where it starts and where it ends. And down here in values, you change it and click on value field setting. Click on that. And we want the minimum, so we see where it starts. So now it's already done it. So if I go over here, you see here, it's given me all the row labels and the minimum number, meaning that family members starts in cell number 2, celebrations starts on question number 255, and so on. But we also want the maximum, so we can see where it ends. So we need to do the whole thing again, highlight it all, go to Insert, Pivot Table, existing, yes, you just want to stick it next to the other one, number, topic, but this time in the value, we want to put max, because we want the last number. Okay, now we can close this, and it's done it. We have got the row labels twice now, so we can just hide one of them. You can't delete them, because that kind of messes the whole table. It just doesn't let you delete a pivot table, basically. And also, annoyingly, it doesn't let you sort it by number. But what you can do is just highlight the 3 columns you've got now, copy them, and paste them as values only. So in the paste options, you use the one with the 1 to 3 at the bottom. Paste it in. Now you can get rid of these ones. Delete. Okay. And now they're just normal normal rows. So if I highlight all 3 of these now, I can go to Sort and Filter, Custom Sort, and oops, sorry, and I want to sort them by the minimum, so they're in the right order. And now it shows me family member starts on 2. Okay, grand total we don't really need, so we can get rid of that. A marriage is my second topic, so it starts on 22 to 38 and so on. So now I've got them all, and well, I like having a different background, so I know that this is my my table of content here. Oops, well, let's make it green again. So now I don't need to scroll down all the way to the bottom, which is annoying, especially if they're in year 11 and they're maybe on the last topic. And all I need to do is just scroll down in the table of content, and I look, oh, the last topic we finished or that we're in is work. So I look, and then I put in 528 to 571, and I put them into the yellow bit there. And Bob's your uncle, basically, and I get all these questions in here. Okay, so on the sheet that I've shared, there's a link to this spreadsheet which mixes the two languages. There's also a spreadsheet which only goes into English, and then the same two versions for the Flippity one as well. But as I said, you just set it up on Excel and I copy over to the Google Sheet. But for the Google Sheet, you will need to have a Google account. And yeah, you just need to make your own copy of it to edit any of them. And sorry, one last thing. If you want to change the backgrounds, because obviously mine has all like German kind of backgrounds, like here, this is Frankfurt. So if you don't want Frankfurt because you teach Spanish, what you do is go to page layout, delete background, and then click background again, and then you can upload your own picture or just choose, let's say we want Madrid instead. Then it will give you a picture there and I can just insert it. And you've got a Spanish background. Let's see if this works. Yay, here we go. So quite easy to change the background to make it look nice. Okay, any other questions?
I think we've covered all the questions. People have been, well, I said delighted this is being recorded because I think a few people have definitely will want to watch back that last section, but thank you so much. It's absolutely brilliant. So if people wanted to translate the Excel sheet for the roulette, how would they do that? I mean, is it just a question of, have you shared the German version already?
Yeah, I mean, you could just run the German side through a translator, but then I think each textbook has slightly different topics and so on. So I would recommend just copying and pasting it from whatever textbook you're using, because most will have a printable vocab list anyway.
Fantastic. Well, I'm sure some kind members of the MFL Twitterati would be up for doing that. That would be amazing. Yeah. So I'm sure I
can share some more German ones. I'll put it in the chat in a minute. So I've got Stimmt 2 and Echt 1 as well, so I can share them as well.
Superb. Well, thank you so much, Julia. I think without further ado, if it's okay, we'll finish up with our last speaker, the amazing but modest Jérome. So Jérome, do you want to share your screen now? If you stop sharing your screen, Julia, if that's okay.
Yes, there we go.
And then Jérome, if you want to share your screen.
Absolutely.
And really looking forward to hearing more from you. I've learned so much from you already from your fabulous Linguiscope webinar. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this one as well. And no pressure, but a perfect way to finish our first show and tell of 2021.
No pressure at all. Amazing people. So okay, let's crack on. If I can start my PowerPoint, it'll be even better if you likes it. Hopefully it's going to be working for me. There we go. Okay, so I am going to be talking first of all about the fantastic Wakelet. I'm a massive fan. I'm also a Wakelet ambassador. That's probably the reason why I like speaking about it so much. So let's have a go. First of all, I am going to show you what it looks like, how you create a collection and things like that. And after that, I'll show you a bit more in depth what I do and what I think languages teacher can actually do with it. So let's have a play. So I should be now arriving onto my Wakelet somehow. I don't know how I can hide this. Can I hide it? Yeah, yes, no. Yes, it is. Fab. Okay, so there we go. So this is my Wakelet. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you how to create a collection. Actually, what is Wakelet, first of all? Wakelet is a good place to create some collections if you want to, I don't know, if you want to create some of the resources on anything that you're working on, if you're working on a project, or if you've got photos or things like that. I think it's an amazing to put everything together. There are so many ways to actually do it. And a good way to actually do that is by creating collections. I'll show you how to, very, very simple. The interface is super easy. So if I want to create a collection just in front of you, let's do that all together. I can write it, I'm going to call it TiLT webinar, why not? And you can add a cover image. So either you can upload your own image you choose from the library. The library is amazing. So you can find some lovely photos. I can see one good one here. I'm not going to be far for about 2 hours about pictures there since it's just for demo. It looks also very pretty. I'm quite a visual guy and I like seeing things. I like things when are nice. I think it's nice for also pupils to see when things are good looking. So I could put a half cover, is usually what I do. And if you want to put a background also, you can have the background image also around. So you can either upload an image or choose from the library again. I want something plain, maybe to put in the background. There we go. And I've got a lovely already collection. So what can I add to it? So if you click on that little plus here, you can paste a URL. So anywhere you are, if you've got something specific you want to put in, if you have URL, you can just get it. So I've got a Wakelet, or if I go on to, I was going to show you something maybe with remove background or something later on. I'll go back into my Wakelet. I'm doing it that way, but obviously I've got another way to do that. I'll do this, boom, it's already in there, okay? And I've got this already set up here. I can add more things. So I can add text if I want to describe things. I can add some text, it's very easy. I can add big titles, small titles, bold and things like that. If you want to present a little collection, you want to say this is whatever, this is the food collection or something. And Sabine was talking about French people talk about food all the time, which is quite true. Why not? And there we go, food, you can add some text to it. What you can do also, you can have some YouTube. So if I'm looking for Joe on YouTube, I'll do Joe Dale, and it's very clever. It's going to be looking for Joe in YouTube, and you should be finding his channel straight away. Look at that, how amazing this is. And you can find all of these presentations and all things that if you want to put, let's say the first one here, the one on quick hour conversation, you just click on it, add, and boom, it's there, okay? So it's so easy, so simple. You can add some tweets also. Let's look for users. You can use specific users if you want to. Let's look for Helen, for example. Helen Myers, are we going to find Helen there? I can see me there. I'm sure, hold on, I think I've done that before. And there we go, got the lovely Helen. So if I want to add anything from that Helen said, a corrector d'orthographe manual, perfect, I like that one. So what do I need to do? I can need to add it into my collection, and that's it. And you can do that in many, many ways. So you have all these options. What I really like also, you can add some bookmarks that you've created already, or you can get from before. You can have some images that you've taken on your computer. Upload PDFs, that's really handy. If you have access to a Google Drive and you have lots of things in there, you pick up any information you have already in there, you put it in your Wakelet collection. OneDrive is the same, obviously, if you're a Microsoft user. I am, but also I've got Google Drive. I like working with both, actually, especially if you like Flippity. You cannot not use Google Drive. So that's awesome. And what is absolutely amazing also is you have also access to Flipgrid. So if you want to make a little demo on something, or not so long ago, I showed parents, I'm going to show that to you in a second, how to use Immersive Reader. You make yourself a little video on Flipgrid, make a short, and you see that you're going to have the camera. I'm going to see my mug again, but that's not so important. And you can, oh, exciting, and bit of a sore eye, and you can record yourself, and the video will be going on top there. So it's really, really a fabulous thing to be using. Well, if you want to also move things around, there's something called Easy Reorder Mode, which I really like. If you want to put food just before there, you can move it on top. If you want to put Helen just before Joe, because we're polite, put that there, and so on and so forth. Lots of good things like that. So this is just building a collection, okay? And I'm going to maybe put that down. Okay, my collection's done. If I want to invite some people to actually have a look at my collection, I can do that. I can share my collection with some people here. So, and first of all, obviously I need to change the visibility. That's a private one, but I need to make it either unlisted or public. Public, everybody can see it. Unlisted, if you make a link for people, like I do for my school, or what I do with some colleagues, I just make it unlisted and I send a link. And you can see that it can also be embedded in Facebook, Reddit, and all sorts, Google Class, you got Microsoft Teams, you can make a QR code. I like the export as PDF also because all the links are workable and you can also embed it. Wakelet is also embeddable in Google Class, which is fantastic, and Microsoft Teams. So if you make a presentation in Microsoft Teams and you want at the same time to show your Wakelet collection, you can also do that. So that's amazing. If you export as PDF also, it's also very, very useful. So if you send a link to someone there, they can have a look at your collection, but they cannot tamper with it. They cannot do anything to it. But if you want to go collaborate with some people, you could actually invite people to collaborate and you are sorry, you need to be clicking on the invite button here. And when I do that, I should have this. You can invite either with a link and a code. You send that to these people, and they can contribute to your thing. So they cannot erase what you have done, but they can add things to it, which I think is amazing if you want to have some people contributing to a collection or to put some work in. You can create spaces, which is an area which is a large, let's say it's a bubble. We hear a lot about bubbles these days. It's a big bubble where you can have lots of different things, like the ones I'm going to show you in a second, which is actually this one here. You have a space which are awesome Wakelet diversity, because I use it as a place where I share with people online on webinars and stuff like that. When I did my LinguaScope, I used something in this area. So you put different collections and people can have different things also. What I like in earlier on, if I go back to this, if I was talking about the collections and the things that you can share with people and where you can contribute. A friend of mine, a colleague at school, we created a staff book reviews, which is great for staff and for children to share. And you probably remember that also, that an MFL tutor, Isabel Jones, also, she's done that for different languages, but I participated to this one, French music for the classroom. And I think that was a good place also to share things. So we could contribute to this. Let's now go back to what you can do in foreign language. What I think is great to be done in this. And I've got a little trick which I really liked. So what I do is you can prepare your lessons. You can put your lessons straight away in there. Not so long ago, when I was working towards my Adobe Creator badge, the second level, you had to create a lesson. I thought Wakelet was the best place to do that. And I created this one, c'est Voyage sur une autre planète. And because you had to design things, and I like designing things. By the way, Canva is also amazing. I have lots of Canva fans on MFL Twitter. I say I'm a big fan. And obviously, Adobe Sparks is fantastic. So I've designed a lesson for the people there. They explain, I've got a sentence builder they have to use there. Got the 20 keys that probably reminds you of someone. Another amazing MFL Twitterati. And what I use in this case, they have to create a Facebook status, and they have to use a sentence builder to write what they're doing on the planet and things like that. And they have to create, by using fake tweet or chat or Facebook status, you can actually do that. You have a template and they can write their sentence and so on and so forth. And after that, they have to go on Adobe Spark. This was my design done very, very quickly. And they have to do also showing an image or something like that on top of the text. So that's one of the lessons that I created that I'm going to be using this term, and it's going to keep them quite busy. And I think it's really creative. I love creativity in the classroom, and I think it's really important. When we were back in September, we were in one of the few schools where we barely, after all these access to online tools and stuff, we barely had any access to online because of all the bubbles and stuff. I was lucky enough to have a bank of iPads that I could use and do some things with the children. It was really not the same at all. So I couldn't use all the techie things that I wanted to use, sadly. So now that we're back online, I will be able to use all this stuff again. Obviously, I'd rather be in the classroom, but it will be a good way for the children to have access to all these things again. So this is a good place, Wakelet, to be creating lessons, and the children can follow that when you share it. You can create little guides to cities and towns, and I don't hide the fact I'm from the south of France, even though I don't visit enough for the moment. I'm from Toulouse, and this is a good place to put videos. And if you want to introduce a town or a city, I also, not so long ago, I had created a little escape place also there, inspired by all these beautiful people on MFL Twitterati. On the Toulouse city, then I can speak about culture, put things like that. I created also a song. You know that Beau Papa, I love using music in my lessons too, and this is the lesson plan that I wanted the children to be using here. So they got the video, the YouTube video, and then after they have to go on Flipgrid, do some listening practice. I've been using again, you get learning apps. Oh, I think I heard about that before. And after that, I have to use a Quizlet to be practicing the family members. I think it's great for app smashing. You can put everything together in the same pod, and it's absolutely amazing place to be keeping everything together. One more, what I also like to do, if I go back to this one here, Elocution Competition. So I'm running, I've been running elocution poetry competition for years now in high school, because I work in prep schools from year 3 to year 7. Usually we leave it on our year 8 because they have got to be taking the common entrance exam where they have to be doing French orals and all sorts of things. They're very, very busy. So I don't add extra on them. But usually all year 3 to year 7, they've got to be picking a poem, and they have to, out of 3 or 4, and they have to recite it. And after we do that, and we have we're very lucky to have a huge theater in our school, and they go in front of the whole audience, the whole school there, and they perform, the finalists perform in front of the audience. The parents are there, so it's a big occasion. And obviously this year it's going to be slightly different, but I want to, if I may do a plug-in here, I thought the pandemic, which is obviously a horrible thing, was a good thing to be plugging in lots of stuff and creating a larger scale type of the poetry competition. And I had a good return on Facebook, and a few more people also on Twitter. So if you're interested in taking part in this, I think we are going to be going from year 3 to year 9 now. And we have Spanish and German also in there. So I might ask my lovely MFL tutor maybe for some help to pick some poems and things like that. I might ask some very famous MFL Twitter to be adjudicators, but that might be coming up later when the plans are in there. So this is the type of thing they can have. They have the poems there, and it's very handy. And I'm going to show you also the magnificent Immersive Reader. So because Wakelet's got Immersive Reader, what I can do is, if I click on it, and we use in the past, we have to record ourselves with my colleague to be reading the poem, and we had to be doing the translation too, which is fair enough because the children need to be understanding what they're reading, what they speaking. But because of the Immersive Reader, if I use it directly into Wakelet, if I click on play.
Cartable nouveau par Christian Merveille Joly.
Obviously, there's lack of punctuation there. I should have a full, so it goes quite fast. But the advantage of this is you can put it slightly slower. And if I go also here, if I want to understand what it is all about, they can change it into English, obviously. But I've got children from Spain. I've got children from Japan. I've got children from China, and it is brilliant for them to be able to change the whole text into I don't know, let's do German here. Why do French Switzerland? Maybe not that one. I'll say German, or let's say Greek. Why not? And do that also by word, and you should be changing it. Hopefully, if I do the right manipulation here. He doesn't want to. There we go. Translating to Greek. Oh, exciting. So that's pretty amazing. And I do the same also. And I showed that last time with the French orals that the children have got to be learning for their common entrance. It's really handy. Pop it onto Wakelet, and you use the Immersive Reader, and it reads the question well, and it translates it really well. They have the right pronunciation. They can listen to it again and again, and it's very, very useful and fantastic. That's the kind of things that I think are wonderful to be done in terms of things in the classroom. I'm a big fan of also adding cookery and baking and things like that in the classroom. Obviously, it's going to be a bit more difficult. I've got my classroom when we are working is actually just above the food take room, which was underused when I arrived in that school, and I decided to be putting food and French all together. And I think it works ever so well. And if you conduct your lesson all in French, they learn about ingredients, they learn about all sorts, and it's amazing. Last year, during lockdown, I did a lot of bake-offs online, and the children were cooking online. They had the teams on in their kitchens, and they were doing some pancakes or crêpes, tarte aux pommes, and all sorts. And this is the type of things that they actually don't have. I haven't picked any pictures on Google or anything. These are actually their creations, the things that we're quite proud to be taking, and they took really good pride to be doing that nicely and presented lovely also. And obviously it's nice to share it with them, and putting it on Wakelet is a good occasion to share it with the staff, but also with parents. They kind of look at what their children have been doing, and I think it's a great place for that. I think that's about me at Wakelet. As Joe said, I'm going to stop gushing about that. It's such an amazing tool. And if you have any questions on it, I'm very happy to oblige later on.
Jérome, just quickly, could you just show everyone how to share the code with a collection? Because I've been putting that in the chat. I know that you've done that. I know you've shown us how to access the code, but can you just walk us through what the students need to do?
You want to share a space? Is that what you want me to show, Joe?
Yeah, so you know the collection you set up as an example.
Collection. Yeah, sure, yeah.
And then if you just generate the code and then log out, if that's okay, go back to Wakelet and then click enter code, just to show everyone how it works, if that's okay.
That's no problem at all. Okay, let's say that I'm going on to this one, the TiLT one I've just created. I'm going to be showing this collection. So I copy.
I was thinking the invite. If you click the invite, then get the code. Do you see what I mean? So you then co-create a collection together, yeah?
Sure. Okay, I copy the link, that one, and I'm going to sending it to. I'm going to send it to myself, I suppose.
Well, what I was obviously I'm not telling you what to do. What I was thinking was if you click on the if you go back to link or code.
Yep.
And you click copy code.
Yep.
And then if you post that into the chat for us.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah. And then it means anybody can go to Wakelet. That's why when I'm presenting this myself, that's what I do. And then people can go to Wakelet.
I'm being very daft there.
They don't need to log in, and then they could just click enter code. I think it is.
You don't have to be a member to. You don't have to be a member of Wakelet to access this. Now I need to go back to the chat if I can get back into it. The chat.
So the top of the screen, I think, isn't it? You then can click on the.
That's the code, and I'm going to get the. I'm going to get the the invite code again.
Yeah, copy code.
Copy this.
I was thinking underneath the copy code option.
Yep. The code is already in the chat, Joe. So
okay,
it's not
perfect.
There, and now you have your. And now the link is in there. Sorry, I was being quite daft about that one.
No, it's fine. It's just to show people, because I was talking in the chat, but if we actually show people live, then that's brilliant.
Yeah, sure. And after, if they want to add anything into it, it's up to them. They can do it.
Thank you.
No problem. Right. Unless you have any questions on Wakelet, I'm happy to show you a couple of bits and a couple of tricks, which I was actually amazed by the Windows keys and the V for clipboard. That's a really cool one. So I'm going to be using that a lot now. And I'm going to show you a couple of tricks that I think could be quite useful if you're happy with it. I've put that one on MFL Tutorati, and I'm obviously not the only one. I haven't discovered that, sadly. I wish I had, but it is amazing, especially in our context, if you want to share a YouTube video with some people. If you just put a little hyphen between the T and the U on YouTube, you can get a video with a full screen, no advertisements, and it's only a view-only link. So let's do a quick demo. If I click on my presentation, I'm going to get to. I'm being very vain, and then just go onto my Twitter channel, where in the first lockdown, or in lockdown 1.0, stop the sound. That'd be really good. I create, because my son was at home also. He's 5, and I needed to keep him busy at the same time too. So it was a good place to start doing some baking, and I love doing baking, as you may have heard already. And we did lots of videos that I was sending to the children to be playing with and demonstrating during the lockdown, and sending them off after that. So if you put a little hyphen between the T and the U, and click on this. Yes, I want to continue. Thank you very much. And technically, if you wanted to, you send me the wrong place. Obviously, it worked millions of times. It's going to be working now. I'll start again. I start again. I'm going to copy my link and stop the sound straight away if you want to. Okay, go to the new window. I put this, I put my hyphen in between, and it's going to be continuing. And there you go. It's called YouTube No Cookie. And you can see that the video is in full screen, and you can just play it, and there's not going to be no adverts or anything. Sadly, usually YouTube videos and so they get into OneNote, they open nicely, it looks good, but there you can only put the link. It's the same if you are putting the PowerPoint or something. It doesn't work it doesn't get embedded. It's just a link, but I think it's still pretty useful to have that private link and without the adverts and everything. At least you can control what's showing at the end. And I think that's really, really important. Next little trick, I go back.
Jérome, do you know if that trick works if you embed the video into a PowerPoint?
No, I just mentioned that, Joe. It doesn't, sadly, no. I had to try with some colleagues that had the same question. Sadly, it doesn't know. It's just going to be the link.
Okay, but there are websites like View Pure and Safe YouTube as well, which allows you to remove.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
you might. I'll put those in the chat. That might work as well. Thank you so much.
Then that is a good one. I wasn't using very much. I think it could be working very well with Julia's and with all the vocab you have to enter in your list into Google Sheets if you have to do that. So let's have a quick look. If you use a formula, and obviously this is Google Translate, so we could be ending up with some very funny results. But if you're going, if you go open-minded, it could really help out. So if you enter a formula into Google Sheets, and you put the language that you start and the language that you want to get into, you can translate your stuff straight away. So let's have a play. I've done it already in French here, so you can see I've written the English on that side, and I've got the translation on this side here, and it is actually quite accurate. So what I'm going to do now is still loading, so hopefully it's going to be working in a second. There we go. I've got my formula here, so I don't know if you are used to be working with formulas and stuff in Excel, but it's not after whatever Julia has been showing. This is pretty amazing what she's done. So this is quite a simple thing to be doing, really. So if I insert my my formula here, it's going to be changing it in French, but I need to change the FR into ES for Spanish. I think it's ES. And if I click on enter, it should be translating everything already in Spanish. And I click on the little, there we go. I've got everything done in Spanish. I can do the same in French. I just need to be changing the FR again, sorry, in German. I just need to add in GE, oh no, it's DE actually, I think. DE, I click on that, again, downloading. I don't have that little thing afterwards, but if I just drag it down, I've got it in German. I can do it in Italian, just because it's here, I'll keep doing it, might as well. And change it into it. And do that, and I should have that also done into Italian, and I'll click on the little, there we go. That's pretty amazing. So if you want to quickly have some lists there, and it usually comes with accurate things. Obviously Google Translate sometimes could be a bit funny, but in this case it worked out pretty well. Hopefully it worked out for the German, because I don't speak German very, very well at all. Next little trick, I like this one very much. It saves a lot of time, and I probably will stop on that because people are probably running away, eager to finish and have a cup of tea or something to relax. So I'll finish on this one. Drag and drop images directly into Word Online, but also if you use remove background, I think it's really, really good if you're using your Bitmojis and stuff, and sometimes you have images with background. I know in Canva you can remove it. You can remove also the background into PowerPoint. But it's the remove background app. Is very, very good. So I'm going to have images here, and if I've got my, first of all, what I want to do is I just want to drag one image into my. I'm going to bring that window down. Let's say I want to drag one of these into my document, into my Word document. It only works online. Okay, so it's got to be Word Online. And you can see, boom, it's already there. I managed to put my image straight away into my Word document online. I can do the same in Google Docs. So if I do the same, I go back into chocolatine or pain au chocolat, whatever you call it, put it in here, same, I put another one, and it works like a charm. Okay, remove background, sometimes a bit fussier with the images. It doesn't work all the time. So I am going to try to find one that I had earlier on which worked. So if I drag it into remove background here and drop it, there we go. All the background's been removed. I just have to drag it. I don't have to save the picture. I don't have to put it onto the computer and upload it. I can just drag it straight away in there after I download it. I can put this into whatever your creation you're doing. And that's about it, really. I've got plenty more tricks, but I don't want to keep you up. And thank you for having me. And I hope it's been really useful.
It's been amazing, Jérome. I'm sure we would love you to come back and have a whole hour with just Jérome, as it were. But I think I think you're right that we are getting near to time to wrap
absolutely.
up. But thank you so much for those tips, and thank you to everybody for presenting these fabulous ideas. Isn't it amazing? We have this fantastic community who are sharing all these ideas in these times of adversity, but we're coming together, we're all sharing ideas together, and it's just fabulous. And thank you ever so much for everyone that came along this evening as well. I think we had about 140 at the sort of the maximum. So it's just a credit to the language teaching community that we can come together, we can share ideas, and we can support ourselves. It's just wonderful. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for everyone that took part today. Helen, a few final thoughts.
Well, as always, thank you, Joe, for coordinating all of this, for having this wonderful network of people. And I would echo what you say to say thank you to the presenters who, just like that, said that they would come along. I'd love it now if everybody could open up their webcams, or anybody who can to open up their webcams. It'd be nice. I know also you've just got loads of support in the chat there. You as presenters are going to really enjoy, I think, reading that. And isn't that lovely? Everybody puts their web, not everybody always does that, but you've done it. Everybody's here. Brilliant. So I'm going to take some pictures, and then this evening, perhaps with a bit of telly on in the background, I'll put together the ALL web page or whatever, where we will put a link to the recording. And also thank you so much to the presenters who shared their links. If there's anything that I've missed out on, please do let me know. So
yeah, I'm just using the new idea to translate my Google Sheet as well. So it's French and Spanish already done with that trick. Very good. So I can share it as well.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so I'm about to, and we've got 5 pages to get through at the moment. So as you said, we had about, that's really good, 100, I think about 144 people came at one point. So it's really lovely. So I'm on page 1. Well, you don't know what page 1 is anyway, but I'm on page 1. 1, 2, 3, smile. Thank you. Lovely. And you can talk amongst yourselves while I'm just taking photos of you all.
You'll be taking the register, Miss.
That's right. Here goes. I'm on page 2. Lovely. I've got Caroline here and Katie at the top. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Lovely. Oh, and there you are. Vale. Now I know who you look like. Hope you don't mind. I used your tweet at the beginning. I'm on to page 3 now. Oh, and Clara's. Oh, well, page 3. You're all being. I'm going to take your names. You don't have these. When you get to page 3, there are no videos, but never mind. You're still very valuable to us. I was saying 1, 2, 3, and there's no video there. There we are. Lovely. Okay, so that's all done. So we'll see you all hopefully. I mean, during the week we've got webinars as well going on, but for this particular thing, we're meeting up at 3:30 for the TiLT bit. If you want to come along earlier, 3 o'clock onwards, we'll be doing something particularly on games, and it would be lovely to see you in the morning when we've got, you know, Mark Reed is a really, really good, inspiring education officer from British Film Institute. We were so sorry that AWL London can't actually have it for real there, but he's going to talk about a project which they've run during lockdown where they got children to video themselves. So I think you're going to really enjoy that. And Stephen Fawkes is going to be speaking, and and I better stop because I'm coughing. But thank you ever so much, everyone. Thank you to the speakers. Round of applause to speakers. Really, really good. And as usual, I don't close the room. I just wait for people to gracefully leave. You won't get a message saying that you've been chucked out. So
we leave
but in 3 minutes she starts playing heavy metal music.
So just to be very clear, that for those people who maybe are new to these, the recording will be on my YouTube channel, which is available via Joe Dale 100. So if you go onto YouTube, do a search for Joe Dale 100, one word, 100 as in 100, you'll be able to find this recording in a few hours' time. And then all the other ones that we've done in the past. So do take care, everybody. It's bath time for the Munchkin now, so I better make a go. In fact, I'm surprised he hasn't been knocking on the door asking for bath time. So do take care. And if you get stuck with anything at all, just ask the MFL Twitter Artie and they'll be there to help you. Bye for now.
Okay. And I'll stop recording.
My husband is cooking and my son came in saying, "That burning smell, is that your computer because you've been on it for so long?"
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Brilliant.
That's what I'm feeling.